Okay, so here's where we're actually going to start solving some inequalities. And actually what the instructions are going to say is to solve the inequality and then graph the solution on a number line. So we're going to look at something simple like this. And I'm trying to get in the habit of rewriting my problem so I keep a nice clean copy of my problem. Regular old algebra, we end up with x is greater than -3. And so to graph it on a number line, we're going to have to decide which way are we going to shade from -3. We know we're going to have an open dot, but does that make a true statement? Are we going to shade towards -4? -4 is greater than -3? Or are we going to shade towards that one? -2 is greater than -3. So that's the one that's going to be true. So we're going to shade in the direction of the -2. Let's try another little simple one. Doesn't matter whether the x is on the left or the right. I'm going to keep a nice clean copy, do the math. We get 12 is less than or equal to x. I'm more comfortable with the variable on the left maybe, so I'm going to rewrite it as x is greater than or equal to 12. If you take the time, before I do that, notice I don't have to have 0 on the number line. Many of you are really in the habit of always starting at 0 and putting in every number. If we start dealing with giant numbers, you're going to be making number lines that are 10 feet long. So just put your number somewhere near the middle and put a few numbers to either side. So, which way are we going to shade? Are we going to shade towards 11 or are we going to shade towards 13? 13 is the one that makes that a true statement, so we're going to shade towards 13. This time we have a solid dot, and we're going to shade that way. A little more involved problem. Keep a nice clean copy of our problem, start messing with it. Another step here, we're going to divide to get x alone. But this time it's important to talk about a little rule that when we divide by a negative or multiply, we divide more often, but if we divide or multiply by a negative, we have to flip the inequality symbol. A lot of people say change the sign or flip the sign. Let's call it a symbol. Signs are positive and negative. So we're going to flip the inequality symbol around, and so x is not greater than or equal to like it looked above. Now x is less than or equal to 3. So build our number line, put our number in the middle, put a number on either side, test them out. Which one's true? 2 less than or equal to 3? Yep, that's the one. So we're going to put a closed dot because we have that equal sign, and then shade towards the 2. So that negative thing is an important thing to remember. It's easy to forget if you haven't done these in a while. What people often get confused about is which part being negative is what did it. It's not because the 24 was negative, it's because the 8 was negative. Because when I said it's when you divide by a negative number, we're dividing by 8. We read that as -24 divided by 8. So it's the number doing the dividing. Okay, do one where we've got variables on both sides. And this is important because there's more than one way to do the steps in this problem. And with that whole dividing by a negative rule, you might be worried about, how do I know, how am I going to get the same thing? Because if I do the problem like this, I have a positive 4x, so I don't have to flip my symbol around. I get x is less than or equal to 1 3/4 or 1.75. But maybe I would have chosen to do it differently. Maybe I wanted to start by subtracting 5. If I do that, now I got a -4x. Is that a problem? Well, when I do that division, I have that -4. I'm going to have to flip the symbol around. Problem originally had a less than. I'm going to make it a greater than. But note, this time the x is on the right. So I can rewrite that as x is less than or equal to 7/4. That's the same thing I had in the other version of working out the problem. So it's exactly the same. As long as you're following all the right steps, you're going to get the same thing. So we have a fraction, that's okay. We can put fractions or decimals on the number line. 1.75 is halfway between 1.5 and 2. 1.5 is halfway between 1 and 2. So put 1.75, and we want to shade the numbers smaller than that. There you go.